Okay, right. For this episode of Building the Grenadier, I had hoped to whisk you off to Germany to explore engine options, but that'll have to wait because the world's changed, of course. We're all in lockdown. So coming up, I catch up remotely with some of INEOS Automotive's senior management team to find out what's going on and how they're handling the coronavirus challenge. Later, Dirk Harman, the CEO, reveals when we'll get to see the Grenadier for the very first time. But let's start with the man responsible for engineering what we're all so desperate to get our eyes on. So what is your role then? As Chief Engineer Exterior, what are you ultimately responsible for?
Everything you see on the outside of the vehicle. So every corner, every radii, every part, every colour, every material, everything.
In terms of the exterior design, kind of where are things at the moment?
The exterior design is signed off. So that gives us time, because after the shape is created, we need to look, engineer, we need to contact suppliers, contact all the departments. So there's always a period after when the stylists have stopped. We call it styling sign-off. So we are pretty much there now.
Paul, the fact that we're Zooming, it is obviously because of coronavirus and COVID-19.
Yes.
How has that impacted your team and the design process of the exterior?
As long as you have Wi-Fi, I really don't think in our world today it makes any difference at all, to be honest.
So in principle, coronavirus hasn't had as big an impact as it might have had for maybe a more traditional manufacturer who's already in serial production?
Yes, I think you're absolutely right, Mark. We are still moving forward at the same pace.
Can you give me any examples of where it's been tricky to be able to do what you need to do from a capability perspective with the vehicle and its functional perspective off-road, but actually still retain some aesthetic?
Two examples. You need an approach angle and you need a departure angle. So every shape that's created on the front of the rear of the vehicle must respect the approach and the departure angle of this vehicle. Otherwise, as you quite rightly said, people will not see this as fit for function. We must have this approach and departure angle.
Thank you very much for giving us that insight. We cannot wait to see it. Engineering this extraordinary 4x4 is a truly international project, but the Grenadier was born in the UK and its home will be in Wales, where they're just about to begin construction of a state-of-the-art factory. Tim, it's fantastic to catch up with you. Essentially, the Grenadier's base is going to be in Wales. Why Wales?
We wanted to be able to create our own identity. What we wanted to do is have our own facility. We didn't want to take somebody else's. We wanted to create something specific. We wanted a greenfield location that had good transport connections. We wanted somewhere that had good local supply chain available to us. And with the support of the Welsh Government, we identified that Bridgend was the ideal location for doing that. Of course, the other thing to bear in mind is we're hoping that we will have significant overseas sales volume, so we actually need to be quite close to a port as well.
What are the really big challenges coming up?
The big challenge for us is to make sure that we can recover from the impacts of COVID. It's been very difficult to be able to move the material on site because it's been really quite difficult to observe social distancing rules. So we've had to incur some delay associated with that. We think that's manageable now and we're putting measures in place to recover from that. All our partners are very much up for working on that build programme and we're determined to be successful.
Listen, thank you very much. I know you're massively busy. I really hope I get the chance to have a look at the site as it starts to grow. When the factory's up and running, it'll need feeding with components from suppliers all over the world, ensuring everything is engineered perfectly and delivered on time is a mammoth challenge. Oliver, it's great to see you. Thank you very much for your time. Even though it's it's part of the new world, isn't it? Because of coronavirus, we're all meeting each other online, but it's great to get some time with you. So one of the fascinating things, Oliver, about this is obviously the fact that INEOS has never built a car before, let alone a highly specialist off-road utility vehicle. Does that make it actually easier to build this vehicle or more challenging?
I would say both. On the one hand, I trained my sales skills quite a lot in the last months, I would say, because what it's all about is we have to explain the business model. The second challenge, I would say, is around recruiting. So what we need is really entrepreneurial mindset and skills. It's not easy to find that in an, I would say, more or less traditional auto industry, especially around the locations where we are. Whereas easier is you can design actually processes, IT landscape, contracts, everything which is around your business processes exactly to the purpose.
What do you see over the next year to 18 months? What are the really big challenges that are still kind of, to conquer from your point of view?
I think one of the biggest challenges is really to get the partners ready for serial production. Now it comes out of actually the digital phase. You have the digital engineering done, but now you have to actually put it in the physical world, and this is ahead of us.
Oliver, listen, thank you very, very much for your time. It's brilliant to catch up. These are very tricky times for any business, for sure, but there's a genuine sense of energy and optimism on this project. Everyone I talk to is really fired up. At every level, it seems that Grenadier is personal. So does that come from the top? Dirk, thank you very much for finding some time to speak to me. I know you're a very busy man.
Mark, absolutely a pleasure to talk to you again. It's always a pleasure to see you.
So how are you coping with lockdown?
Well, lockdown is working as good as it can after 8 to 9 weeks of isolation.
Has it helped the fact that you are a startup and you're a very flexible company at the moment?
I think the key bit here was that we are a team that develops in Germany, Austria. We have a team in the UK, so we are used to work from remote locations and collaborate using modern technology. I think the tools are in place also for our, mainly what we're doing right now, serial development for our engineering partners. We've seen some delays, but overall I think we're coping fine.
What would you say has been the biggest challenge?
Let's say the biggest challenge is, it's definitely plural, and it seems like you're jumping from one challenge to the next. I think the first and most important step was getting the right people on board and that are now driving this. I think that was the biggest challenge. Second, then finding the right partners, because it is quite important to get good supply base, good components that we will use to create the Grenadier at the end of the day. And I think the biggest challenge to come now is really getting the word out there, getting even to the broader mass known what this vehicle is all about.
So what stage are we at now?
We're now moving into serial development where all the key partners are on board. We just came out of winter testing earlier this year, and that has progressed. So now we're really preparing our prototype program for this year, which is large scale, where we can validate the car, calibrate everything and get everything work together nicely. Coming out of COVID, coming out of that crisis, we have lost some time here and we need to make it up. We are not jeopardizing the quality, so we need to find ways of testing very hard, very rigorously our product, but we have less time, so we need to find ways of doing it in parallel rather than sequential.
On the wall behind you, the picture behind your right hand is that's the photo that was outside the Grenadier pub. What is that photo on the other side of you?
That's actually a picture of the winter testing.
That is the Grenadier.
This is a Grenadier prototype running in Sweden, yes.
Can you bring it over here so I can look at it?
You won't see much anyway.
Okay, good. Can hardly see it. Oh my God. So you promised a vehicle that would look like it means business. That's looking pretty cool. When will the world get to see photos without snow in them, that you can actually see it?
I think it's a matter of weeks now, so you can look forward to it soon.
So there you have it, right from the top. Next time, right here on Building the Grenadier, you're going to see in detail what it looks like.